Mike is going to give us a demo of an app that runs on Heroku, funnily enough. So interest levels in Heroku, just going to sign up tomorrow and give it a whirl. Oh yes, we got one, we got two. Yes. Good stuff. You can't just pretend. No. Definitely going to do it? Ah, good work. Excellent, there you go, sold. Thanks very much. Here's Mike, who's going to give you the run-through of a Heroku app driving a drone.
Do that one last, keep you engaged a bit more. So there's a couple of things I wanted to show. Firstly, if you wanted to sign up to develop org with Heroku, you're free to do that. We urge you to do it. There's 750 hours of free dyno time per month you can use to run your code, to play around with it. Access to most of the add-ons, things like Postgres, things like Papertrail, all have free packages. So you can do quite a lot without having to pay for anything. Now, when I log into my dashboard on Heroku, these are all of my apps that I've got running on here. They could be running in different areas, they could be different languages, Ruby, Node, Scala, whatever they are. When you move into the enterprise space, you have this thing called private spaces, which I didn't mention before. Now, private spaces is like a VPC. It's a private area you can put your apps into and control what IP addresses and ports can access it. And they also say you can set it up in about 5 minutes, so that's a positive sign for any development. Now, the one we're going to focus on is this one here. So I've got a pipeline with several apps in, which I set up this morning. And they're running some Node apps, some Node sites. So we've got a prod, staging, and dev. What we've also got, is it's connected through to my GitHub repository. Now, the one that's connected through to my GitHub repository is this one. It's my dev. So as I commit to the master branch of GitHub, it automatically deploys into here. Now, if I set up a testing strategy and it waited for that CI flag, then it would wait for that before it deploys into my dev environment to go through its testing cycles. Now, very quickly, so I've got a very basic Node application. And I've committed that into my GitHub repository. And I'm running on the master branch. Now, if I check this out into another repository, oops, what do I do? Now, if I make a change to the code sitting there, hold my Now, what you're noticing here is I'm not pushing it into Heroku. So I could use git push Heroku master, and that will send it through to the app automatically. But I'm going to push it and commit it into my GitHub repository. So if I get the branch right.
Microphone holder.
The marketing guy left.
They always do.
Not as fast as the salespeople.
PolarSeven, always there with a helping hand.
That's it. Help you out in your time of need.
I can't find the answer to the question.
Thanks, Alexa.
So what you've seen is there's a new branch I'm trying to commit. So if I create a pull request, if I flick back quickly over here, there you go.
Dope.
There you go. So there's my review app for my commit. So what is it? As I've committed it, it's detected that I've committed and created a new pull request, and it's automatically started to deploy it as a review app. Now, inside of my code, if I created something called in my app.json, if I told it any of the scripts I wanted it to run, if I told it any of the add-ons I wanted to deploy, all of that would get packaged up and sent into that review app for me. So that app is now running. So I've taken my master branch, branched it out, changed the code, committed it in, and the pull request is now giving that to a customer or a user to go and validate what I've done. Really, really simple and easy to do. So it allows you to commit multiple times a day. Come up with these review apps, and then as soon as I close that pull request, that review app's gone. And create it again manually, which will go off and get it and create a pull request and create that review app for me. But as soon as I've done, it's gone. That whole environment's disappeared.
Pretty cool. What do we think? You guys, have you got a pipeline like this running? Yeah, go for it.
Imagine this is like one repo. Like, let's say you have got 10 microservices and you're talking about one repo. I need to have my rest of the 9 microservices up and where will it run? Like, how would you define that environment?
The live microservices. So that's already been committed into my production environment. What this is doing is listening into my repository to deploy my changes. So that's going into a testing.
What are those extra other microservices? Let's say I created an environment where I need all 10 services. And this is where I only updated one. So where are
they would be running in my dev already. They would be sitting in my dev pipeline. They'd be sitting in my dev, staging, production, wherever they are. They're already running.
And this one is going to point to the risk.
Well, it depends what you set in your environment variables as well. So you could use the environment variables to point to other microservices. So it depends on what you tell and configure your app to do. So when you set up your app, this is not
Thanks, nothing like a live demo. So what's your concern that you have 10 different microservices, which means you have 10 repos in a pipeline in 3 different environments? Can this handle it?
Yeah.
So if you've got different ones running in different dynos, all you're using is environment variables to point to it. So you already know the name of what you set up for those different microservices. So microservice 1, microservice 2, microservice 3, .Heroku app, whatever it is. You just configure environment variables in that 10th microservice to point to the other 9 as environment variables. So you commit that app.json into GitHub, and then it knows what all the other 9 are that you use.
And then you use that environment of your repo.
Yes.
Repo means environment.
Correct. It's in context to your code that you've written. And then you use the Heroku environment variable in your code for whatever you want to use it for. So you go off to the Heroku environment variable and grab the data that you need as part of what you need.
Happy to take more questions?
I want to jump on a bit, so I'm just conscious of time.
We'll come back to you. Hard to run a demo and hold a microphone at the same time.
So this is a React web and mobile app running in a phone app called Heroku. See someone on Heroku, we're talking to a load backend. Now, forget about the use case of the app, but it's a loyalty app. It has products in there, there's customer data in there, there's things that I want to take and I want the business to own that. Now, how many people love building admin UIs on top of their code so that the business can control it? So how many people have had stakeholders say, oh, I need a UI that I can add more products in, or I need a UI to do this, or I need a UI to do that? Building your and running your app on Heroku gives you those free UIs out of the box inside of Salesforce. So a good example, for example, is the product catalog. So all of the products from here weren't entered into the Heroku instance. They were actually
Entered into the CRM.
So logging into the CRM slide.
Who here uses Salesforce and has like products and SKUs and codes and stuff in it? Yes? No one? No one here uses Salesforce? No? Wow.
After developers you talk to don't know they use Salesforce. So inside of Salesforce, what we talked about was having a single abstract data model. So you've got your data model sitting inside of Salesforce, which you as developers can take and use inside of Heroku. So using Heroku Connect, you can take the data model and wrap what the customer or the organization has built in your Salesforce with the data and access it on top of it, build your web services and build your apps on top of that data. So for example, all of the products that the business wants to create are keyed in with your free user interface here. And as the changes are made, they're pushed through to the other side.
So when you say push through, does it mean it updates the database? What about the user interface? Like, if there are product changes that require user interface, is that
Yeah, this is the user interface that people will change the products in. So, come on here. So if I go back to my app, so if I go back to my app, Rachel, she signed in using her Facebook account. She loves cooking, so she gets kitchen offers. So she's happy to have kitchen offers. Now those offers originate or configured inside of Salesforce in the offers tab. So someone in the product marketing team or the marketing team comes into here and sets up the offers. So there's Mike's offer. These are the details of the offer. There's the logo. And the data is synced to the application database that this is running on. Now, I then don't have to set up another admin UI for someone to say, look, we don't want that offer anymore. I don't have to wait 24 hours to extract. I don't have to wait for all that time to come through. People can update these offers in the free admin UI where they would manage their products for sales, service, marketing, etc. inside of Salesforce. But you as developers don't have to worry about how that data gets back into that database that these apps are running from. So within a few seconds, that data is synchronized back and forth. The same way that as I logged in with Rachel, Rachel's details were pushed through to the CRM. So as she signed into our websites, as she signed up to our mobile apps, the business can see that. So if she had a problem with the mobile app, she called up the call center, and the call center goes, well, I've got to wait 24 hours for that record to come through before I understand what the problem is. That is in real time. That data is in real time. The call center would see the information. They would be able to help Rachel out with whatever the problem is with that app. Now, if I come back to here and I refresh, that my coffee is gone. Pull down refresh. I marked it as completed, the offer is now gone from my map. So as a developer, I built something on top of a database, and I don't have to worry about how the data gets interchanged between my business apps, my business workflow processes, my reports on one side, and my customer apps and my customer mobile apps I'm building on the other side. Make sense?
Is this for hybrid apps or does it work?
Well, native apps are going to run on the phone, you just talk to the services. Oh, which part? So
Just trying to speak the app.
So this app here, this app is not a Lightning app. So this app was written in React, and it's got a Node backend. So this UI over here is our Lightning UI. So they're completely separated. So as the developer, I can focus on the language I want to develop into, and not have to worry about how the data gets interchanged from my app to user. Okay.
Awesome.
Let's see if this can work. Now, we've done a couple of things with the Amazon Echo and Alexa. So one thing is that you can take these, use the Amazon Web Services Alexa skill kit, and instead of using Lambda, we've put the code onto Heroku. So this is talking from Alexa to Heroku to get the information, and then deciding what we want. So we've coded it on Heroku. So from here, we can go, Alexa, ask Salesforce what the opportunity value is for global media. It's a demo. Doesn't look good. Alexa, stop. Alexa, ask Salesforce what is the total opportunity value for global media.
Hi, my name is Alexa. I have found a record for account name Global Media. Global Media has 3 opportunities with a total opportunity amount value of $590,000.
So everyone's seen an Amazon Echo before.
When they launch it in Australia.
Yeah. You have to say it with an American accent as well. This is going to need my American friends in a minute to help me. But what we've got is Amazon Web Services working in conjunction with Heroku. So when we talk about Heroku, it's not Amazon or Heroku. You could have both. You could use resources inside of Amazon Web Services and resources in Heroku, and both can talk to each other. Heroku is built on Amazon Web Services, so the latency is quick. What it's also doing is, here Heroku is now talking back to Salesforce to get the information from our records and bring it back. So now, the other thing we've got here is a little drone. Where it gets dangerous. So everyone signed the non-disclosure. Marketing's left, my manager. So this worried a few. Alexa, ask the drone to dance. Oh my god.
He does dance though.
Alexa, ask the drone to dance.
Drone has started to dance.
this one as well. It's got Amazon taking my voice, translating it into text, sending it through to Heroku. Heroku sending a message through a pub sub message on Heroku, pub sub message, which is coming down to this computer to send the message via Bluetooth to the drone. So inside of Heroku, we've programmed it with actually the flight path or the things we wanted it to do. And the Bluetooth from my laptop is actually the one sending it to the drone via Heroku. So it's pretty cool as well.
Very cool. You done?
So what we suggest for the next step, so we'll send out an email with our slides, people free to contact us questions. You go to www.heroku.com, sign up for developer.org, you're free to use it for 750 hours, I think it is at the moment, it's increased recently. Lots of add-ons you can go in, 2 clicks, choose the add-on you want, choose the Postgres database you want, choose the SQL Server, MySQL database you want, whatever you want, add it in, it's free to use for that time. Have a play, any questions, feel free to contact.
Very cool, thank you very much. Any questions for Heroku? Yes?
So the 750 hours is basically to leave one dyno running per month.
Correct.
What if you want to use that pipeline, so you'll have, say, dev and such running, will that start popping up?
That's a very, very good question. So let me show you. So what actually happens, if you keep if you keep your dynos running at the hobby level, but if you keep it running at the hobby level, your dynos will automatically go to sleep in 24 hours if it's not touched. So if you don't send any requests to your dyno, they'll go to sleep and you'll have, there you go, that's a good example of one. Now, that doesn't mean it's turned off, it just means there's no traffic sent to it and you're not being charged any money. But as soon as you try and hit it, it comes back to life. So the HTTP router, that sends traffic to the dynos, or which dynos? So remember we can scale up and scale down, and I'll show you the idea of that. So if I come back into my app here, and we're running at one dyno. So if I configure the dyno here. So when I scale my code in that slug, scale up 68 dynos. That has now provisioned 68 different dynos with that slug in. And the thing that sits on top of it is HTTP routing. That sends the traffic to where it needs to go to those 68 different dynos. Now what happens is, when it goes to sleep on that hobby, it won't send any traffic to it because it puts it to sleep so you're not being charged. As soon as you get a request coming in, the HTTP router wakes it up and automatically brings it back to life. So it's not this long drawn out period of a few seconds. So remember, I think that was one. So you see the request came through very, very quickly. So what actually happened was the HTTP router went to my dyno and woke it up. So it's now on. So to your point, your question is, yes, you can have multiple dynos, but if you scale them up and scale them down, 750 hours is usage hours. So if they're not used at any part of the day and you don't use them for 5 days, then they don't count for those days. It only counts when they're running. So for example, let's say you don't use anything for 2 weeks, you can then run another 2 dynos for 4 weeks.
So if you have like one prod staging of
Correct. Correct.
All go sleep, love it.
And then you only charge a few cents, I think, for an hour. It's so minimal, the cents.
Yeah, go for it.
So with the mobile app native, so I would have two parts. I'd have my back end waiting for requests, and my mobile app could keep waking that up. So I've got to make sure the app's shut down pretty well.
Yeah, correct. So if you've got a native app, yeah, then every time you're sending a request through, then it will wake up whatever.
And I could write a native app using Heroku as well and push it through.
No, you can't. You can't write the native component to that. That would be still written using Xcode or whatever Android language you're going to write it. Still deploy it, but it will talk to a backend service running on Heroku. And then if there's no apps that are using that service, then it will go to sleep in 24 hours. But typically in a production app, you would scale up as many diners as you want to handle that. There's a really cool add-on package. So if I come to add an add-on package, there used to be a big add-on package called Hire and Fire. And Hire and Fire does pretty much what it says on the tin. It manages your dinos and how much you have to go up and go down by. So it monitors the performance and the traffic, and you set rules about what you want it to go up and what you want it to go down by. And you can use things like New Relic as well to check performance.
When you create a new application, do you have to tell Heroku about that application? Like, this is these 10 programs, I'm using this type of database. You have to set that all up, don't you?
Yeah, so you have to tell Heroku, either by creating the app or through the command line interface, what the app is. So I can come into here, I can create a brand new app, I can just go and add in my add-ons. Or I can tell it via my app.json what to do. So if you look at right down here, there's an add-on, I'm telling it to issue a Postgres database to that web app, or to that diamond, sorry. So every time that pack gets deployed, wherever, it will package a Postgres database, or make sure one's connected. And that Postgres database could be connected to multiple apps, a staging database, it could be forked.
You got monitoring. Does New Relic server work with that?
So I can,
Does New Relic server
yeah,
work with that?
yes.
So if you have like, I don't know, 20 instances, and New Relic would
Yep.
show you accordingly?
Yep, correct. So I've got a New Relic packaging inside of here, of which inside of my app I've got a JS. I go to my environment variables, my New Relic license. So this comes back to that environment variables point of view. So for example, look at the port. So in my code, it will go to get that environment variable from my app to realize what port to use. So in my code, I have something like colon, get the environment variable for that port. So that easily allows us to ship it, change ports, move things around, etc., etc. So it becomes to move. It then makes every single dyno completely independent of each other. So if one dyno crashes, you're not bringing down a whole house of cards. All the other dynos work for whatever reason.
Yeah.
There you go.
Regarding the drone, the instructions which you are giving through the Bluetooth, for how far it can be the device can be, how far it can be the device.
Bluetooth centimeters, I think. But I haven't tried it very far. With
4 miles.
I think it's on. I don't know which version it's using, but I think it's about 70, 75 meters. But it depends on how much stuff's in the room, etc. But the idea behind the drone is when you go into more expensive drones and they're not tied to the Bluetooth, they're tied to something else, and they can receive signals from other things, then that's you've got other use cases you can talk about. So when you've got things talking off wire, GPS or
IoT can
GPS.
be used IoT.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
Limitless.
Limitless. That's what I wanted. I want to know that's the one.
Some power and some solar panels, maybe.
AWS IoT, so I don't know how
I
far
can
it.
take one more question.
Okay, one more question.
In terms of using AWS services, can we use AWS services like, say for example, if we want to scale up or scale down the EC2 instances, so would Heroku support that in the sense if I develop an application on Heroku?
Talking to the Amazon Web APIs to scale up and scale down. We're just calling to the Amazon Web APIs to scale up and scale down. No, it depends. No, because as long as you can connect through and you can talk to the Amazon Web Services to scale up your EC2 instances or whatever you're doing. It's more of a question.
They're independent services, right? So if you deploy an application onto Heroku, it's independent. It might auto scale underneath on AWS, but you don't see that, right? Unless you're designing your application to auto scale on AWS the calls, then yes, but the Heroku application will just make the call to the AWS API and then make it auto scale behind the scenes. Cool. Michael, thank you very much for the result. We're just going to do the call out. So, Richard Bedford. Is he here? Ah. Who let him in? I think he was the last one in. Last in, best dressed.
Yeah,
hey,
last
in, worst dressed. There you go, there's a
wow,
piece of paper with your name in it.
Oh, that's awesome. There's an empty box as well.
Cheers. Thank you. Cheers. Thanks very much, everyone, for coming. Same time, same place in a month's time. So, first Wednesday of the month. We're PolarSeven. Thank you, Salesforce, for Michael for a great presentation and a drone that dances.
Yeah.
A bit of a drunk drone competition. It needed more room, so we'll give it that. But yeah, cool. Thanks everyone for coming. See you soon. Take it easy. Cheers.